address the Norwalk school property deal. It's something that I took the opportunity today to look up some information and have some questions based on some messages I received in the last 24 hours. I'm a little nervous to do this because while I've been back on social media doing stuff for a while, I haven't really addressed Norwalk. So I'm a little nervous, but I think that this is not only necessary, but it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I am not an attorney and I'm not law enforcement. I don't feel the need to go through my whole disclosure for Norwalk because I started here and you guys all know who I am. I know that taxpayers are seeing this big building as, you know, something that is an extravagant expense, and some are deeming it unnecessary. Some people realistically see this as an expense that they really can't afford, especially when they're struggling to put food on the table. It's a real concern for a lot of the people in the area these days, all over the country, really. People are cutting back on things that they actually need in their homes, and the school asks them to invest what little they have. I believe in this project. I think that this is what Norwalk is about. This is an investment in Norwalk's future. Norwalk claims to be a place for kids, and you don't get any more invested in kids than investing in their education. I raised kids in this district for the most part, and I encountered some of the best teachers in the business. Hands down, you have the most diversified, proactive, put their ass on the line school board that I have ever seen. Agree with them or not, they are doing what they think is best for these kids, and it's a lot more than most people are able to do. I know that there are people who support me and they don't exactly support this expansion project. And what I'm asking today is that you just hear me out on it and let me explain why I support it and why I think it's the best decision for the future of the education of Norwalk students and families. The campus idea is really helpful because it's going to centralize busing. A lot of families have multiple kids at multiple schools. I know I did. It was a struggle. Busing is a serious problem, and this streamlines it. It makes it more efficient and cost effective. Also, this building location where they have this proposed planning is within walking distance of the Sheriff's Department and Fisher-Titus Medical Center. It is a prime central location with multiple pipeline points coming from all over the city. That's likely why the Sheriff's Department picked it. The end of that city, like that end of the city, is definitely seeing this boom in development, likely for the same reason. You can't create real estate, and there's very little left of it in like centralized Norwalk. I think that the voters here, typically voters, if they bother to go to the polls, are fairly informed. And I think that they knew here that they would have to tighten their belt just a little bit, but they had enough foresight to see that this is one hell of a deal in front of them. Okay, the state is funding over 50% of this project. That means that taxpayers don't have to, okay? While the school may not necessarily 100% need this big change right now, I believe that it will in the next decade. If you build a decade from now when it's absolutely necessary, you're not going to have the same options that you have today. That's why it's important to look ahead. We could theoretically be in a worse financial position in a decade than we are in now. And at that point, we're kind of out of options because you're going to need the school. And you're going to need it immediately. Financially, the funding from the state may not be available in 10 years. That means instead of paying for under 50% like they are now, we're risking having to pay 100% in 10 years. Additionally, let's just be realistic here. The cost of this build is significantly going to increase over the next 10 years. We are naturally progressing. The surrounding land will likely be developed in 10 years, leaving the school with this less ideal option. This is it's a really sweet piece of real estate that was purchased by the school, from what I understand, almost 20 years ago. Again, that indicates that there is some foresight and some planning here. And I believe that it is valuable to the school today. Whoever made that decision to purchase this particular property, they purchased 20 acres, is a real estate savage. I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, let me know. They bought the school property, that 20 acres that they wanted, basically dead center in the middle of farmland owned by another owner. Now, if you know anything about real estate, you know that's kind of smart, because that property that surrounds the property that they bought, it's really limited in what they can use it for now, because the school owns the middle. The growth and development of that surrounding property is going to be limited. It's going to make that property less valuable in the future for prospective buyers, including the school. So 20 years ago, they bought the center of this property. I want you to think of like a Reese cup. So they bought the center of this property and they got it on the low, and they say, okay, I don't think that anybody's going to buy the outside chocolate rim of this Reese cup, because there's not really a whole lot they can do with it. Okay. There's not a lot of options there for developers. When they did that, what they guaranteed is now when they go to buy it, they get it on the low, because it's not really that valuable. That's what they're attempting to do right now. It's very, very smart. The school is being mindful and savvy with your taxpayer dollars, and that is what you want them to do. Okay, that's what we want them to do. This was a really, really good business decision 20 years ago. They even increased their chances and likelihood of being able to purchase, the rest of this property, because nobody else would. So the middle of this property is essentially the best part, and the school owns that. The county commissioners, the Huron County commissioners, they own that chocolate rim that nobody really wants. Logistically, the rim of that property is going to be a pain in the butt for anyone else to develop. There's a reason why developers condense things. It makes it cheaper. So now 20 years later, we have the state funding over 50%. We have the 20-acre Reese cup middle peanut butter of the property. We have a solid board. They have this opportunity to build something incredible for Norwalk students for less than what it will cost them later for a lesser product. They had the funding. They secured that through the state. And that's something that you want your school board to really be doing, to look for grants and funding and opportunities to be able to increase without charging their taxpayers any dollars. So this was a good move. They got the vote, okay, which I didn't know that they would. I didn't think that they would get it. They got it on the first try too, which is incredible, because they got 3 tries to do it. So most people don't get it on that first try. Norwalk came in with this resounding support from voters, because they understand that either way, this is a solid deal, because they're going to have to pay for it later anyway. They might as well utilize this, and at a 50% reduction, because the state is subsidizing this. All the school board needs right now is that crappy little chocolate rim around a Reese cup that nobody really wants to pull this project off, okay? The county, and realistically, should have gifted it to the school. The school had an appraisal done, because you have to have appraisals done when you purchase property. They get it done by an outside party. It comes in at $11,000 an acre. Reasonable. It's not donated, but hey, we can afford that, right? $11,000 an acre. That's definitely within state reasonability here. The actual plan for this school is something that was recommended by the state, okay? The school board did not just come up with this extravagant plan. The state, when you apply for this type of money, they typically give you a recommendation. This is what we would like you to do with this money. Now, you can opt not to take their recommendations, but you're probably not going to get the cash. So this isn't the school board being like ridiculously extravagant with your money and wanting things that, they shouldn't need. These are recommendations by the state. Everyone knew this plan and everyone was on board when they put this vote on the ballot. It is my personal understanding that what happened here is, and you can take this or leave it. Okay, this is my understanding. This is my opinion. I've looked through this information. Take it or leave it. The appraisal was $11,000 an acre. The board was planning to meet with, the school board was planning to meet with the county commissioners to make a fair market offer at the appraisal amount, right? Because that's what you do. The day before they're supposed to go into this county commission meeting and discuss this proposal in a public meeting, Tom Dunlop, Norwalk knows him because he used to be a council member. He is now a commissioner. He calls the school board and says, hey, we are way far apart here on price. Like we're nowhere in the ballpark of where we should be. And the board is like, okay, this is negotiable. Let's meet and negotiate. They weren't allowed to. The board was then told by the commission to send the proposal in writing instead of coming for the discussion, essentially because they didn't want the media circus that comes with that type of thing. I'm going to translate that for you, not that it's necessary anymore. I think that's kind of like we want to screw the taxpayers and the school board and we don't want anybody to know about it. Dunlop tells the school board, not only, don't we want your price, but we've taken you off of the agenda. You don't get the opportunity to speak. Your school board doesn't play those games. And they said, fine, we'll come to the public participation and we'll speak then. Because understand, your school board are still parents. They're parents of children in these schools. They have an interest here. Dunlop flippantly suggests like this $20,000 per acre was more appropriate. The board looks at it and they're like, okay, we can pull that amount off. It's reasonable. We can remain in the state guidelines and we're still giving the taxpayers a hell of a deal here. So they're like, okay, 20 grand per acre. Keep in mind, it was 11 grand appraised. So county's getting a fair deal here. Everyone's still being reasonable. The county is getting, almost double the appraised value. The school gets the land that they need and it works. Except it doesn't. Brad Cooley, the superintendent of Norwalk City Schools, got like a call, I guess, late last week from Brad Messenberg. Now, I know the Messenberg, like rock calling stone, but I don't know him personally. So I have no personal opinion here. But he is a county commissioner and he tells Mr. Cooley that he can't vote on the school project per a legal opinion because his family owns a construction company and they could possibly potentially bid on this school project to drop stone. I'm of the belief that the legal opinion came from James Joel Sitterly, the Huron County prosecutor. Now, this matters because that really only leaves Dunlop and Brady to vote from the commission. Dunlop motions for this project to be approved at $20,000 per acre, reasonable. Messenberg can't vote for an ethical reason. So, it's down to Harry Brady to decide this. He refused to second it. Let's talk about why that matters. Messenberg says that he can't vote on anything involving infrastructure where construction is involved, and he may potentially put a bid on that project. Why did you run? That's what the commission does. It's like all infrastructure. Why did you run for this position? Okay, never mind. I did some digging, and it appears that he actually has been abstaining from votes. So at least he's consistent. But however, sir, I don't know you. I think you're getting played like a fiddle and you don't have the good sense to know it here. What you could do is just opt out of bidding on that project ahead of time. That would remove the conflict. You could go to the Ethics Commission and email them, call them, ask for a second opinion here. Very likely get it. It seems to me, sir, like your own business success is coming before your duty to serve the people who elected you to serve them in this office. It's no service to us if you just sit in this office and don't vote and still get bids. That doesn't help us. It helps you. Where it gets really good. I kind of wonder why Harry Brady, that lone voter left, did not disclose that, to my knowledge, he appears to own a construction company identified as B&H Custom Construction. How can he vote in this? The construction company. He could realistically bid this project the same as Messenberger could. Why was Harry Brady allowed to vote? Okay. I kind of want to know how Messenberg would have voted. I bet it would have been for the school. During this entire last couple of weeks here, Sitterly, the prosecutor, threatens to, through one of the commissioners, personally sue the school board president over this project. He wanted her to call him, apparently. She calls him. He never calls back. It seems like this is getting personal. So I wanted to know, how much farmland does Sitterly's family own here? Look it up. Draw your own conclusions. We'll get back to it later. Why would the county hold back this chocolate rim of the Reese Cup if this rim is essentially undevelopable by other businesses? Why would they first ask for $20,000 per acre, which is well over the appraised value, and then change it to what is now understood to be $40,000 an acre? We are getting real high and mighty, okay, with this price over appraisal. I think that there's several reasons. I think if the school can't build on this peanut butter part because they won't give them the rim, they lose the state funding. And they're going to have to sell the peanut butter middle because they can't use it anymore. And they can't just hold on to it forever, okay? They're going to have to look for other property. Remember, that's prime real estate. If the school is forced to sell their property first, that peanut butter middle, a property that they actually need, then the outside chocolate crusty rim that the county owns goes up in value. It's just a reality. They would then, as the county, be able to demand more money for this crusty chocolate rim because the school sold at a high value. It's simple real estate. The only flaw here would be the county would need a prospective buyer who could shell out the cash for the whole Reese Cup, okay? Remember that. If this county makes the amount so high for the school that they can't approve the numbers, the whole deal is tanked. Everything. That means we lose $52 million free dollars, I believe, out of a $100 million project. That's a lot. Because in 10 years, we still have to build the school. I don't believe that anyone would cause a school deal to tank without a prospective buyer, waiting in the wings here. That's stupid. They're corrupt. They're not ignorant. The commissioners appear to be forcing this unreasonable number that the state would never allow the school board to pay so they can tank the deal. What I was told is that Sitterly, on more than one occasion, has said that perhaps the school board purchase of the Reese Cup Middle, the peanut butter, 20 years ago or so, was not even legal. I went in search of who might want that property, okay, because this is absurd. Somebody else wants it, and their pockets are deeper. Ready for what I found? Is this county commission voting this way because the Carriage House and Fisher-Titus Medical Center plan on expanding again and putting in a nursing home and assisted living center together on one campus? I'm told they're having real hush-hush meetings about that right now. I wonder where the ideal place for a facility run by the Carriage House and Fisher-Titus would be. So I look. The only land in close proximity with the size this project would need is the same location as the Reese Cup. And they need the whole thing, not just the rim. They need the peanut butter too. That peanut butter belongs to the school right now. I think that's why the commissioners are tanking this school deal. I think that is why Sitterly allegedly has said here that the school shouldn't even own the peanut butter middle in the first place. There are things that legally could be enforced, like eminent domain. I wonder what kind of money and kickbacks you get from someone with pockets as deep as Fisher-Titus Medical Center. I mean, the school certainly can't offer to line anybody's pockets for this property, okay? They are battling cockroaches and bed bugs in the schools. So unless somebody wants those, this school is at a disadvantage. The commissioners have them over a barrel. I have to wonder here, are they screwing over the school, the community, these kids, just so they can line their pockets and friends with Fisher-Titus Medical Center type money? You decide. I'm just saying it looks awfully fishy and funky around the commission table and the prosecutor's office if these things are all true. Like always, this is allegedly with Ashli Ford. This is my opinion on this matter and on what I see here. If you don't like it, scroll on. But it makes sense. Have the day you deserve.